Joy, Jenna, Max, Chris, and Danny are all here. Okay. So I will see. Glasses. All right, Todd, Danny, Chris, are you all ready as well?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yep, good.
Okay, then let's start. We'll call the meeting order at 6:30. And Danny, if you could conduct the roll call.
Absolutely. Councilmember Amesbury?
Here.
Councilmember Huff? Councilmember Huff?
Wonder if he's got audio.
Bryson, you're on mute.
We'll come back. Councilmember Ross?
Here.
Councilmember Dahl?
Here.
Councilmember Iverson?
Here.
And Councilmember Huff?
Disappeared. Wonder if he's having to restart.
He was
This is
here.
Bryson. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
I can hear you. I can hear you, Bryson. This is Danny.
Okay.
So, okay, perfect.
Okay, thanks.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody to the first council meeting of the new year 2022. Appreciate all of you in attendance, those who are beyond our council and are part of our community. Let's see, first is the agenda modifications acceptance. We need a motion for that, correct?
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the agenda as is, or if there's any modifications?
Yes. Yeah. I make a motion, we accept the agenda.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Wonderful. All right, thank you. And now we'll go to public comment. Trying to remember, I don't pay attention to this part. Those who are in, we have a raise hand option. Is that correct, Todd? I'm trying to remember WebEx.
Yeah, we have a raised hand option, which I think is *3, and you can unmute yourself by *6, I believe.
Okay, so let's start with those who did not call in, who logged into WebEx. If you have any public comments, raise your hand, and then we can call on you if you have any public comments for this evening. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone who is calling in who has any public comments.
We got call-in user 3, which has their hands raised.
Okay, user 3.
I have public. Yeah.
State your name for the record.
And Gayla Rittinger.
Okay, go ahead.
Do we get everybody that's going to do public comment, or you want me to? Yeah, just go ahead.
You're
with what mine is right.
Yeah, you're the only one that's set up right. I don't see anybody else. So.
Okay.
So
this will be quick then. Just we touched on this quickly at the last meeting, and I was told that I would get an answer this month. So my question is, what was the reason for sending the 2 city employees all the way up to Monroe to purchase the shrubbery for the bear sculptures when we could have purchased that locally? It just seems odd that we would send them all the way up there, pay half a day's wages for 2 people, ton of gas in those rigs, and was just wondering why we wouldn't use something like Sassip Nursery or even Barks in Olympia or something much closer. I've done some research on it, and it doesn't seem to be that cost was the factor in that, especially when you factor in the wages and the gas going all the way up there. So I'm just wondering if there's any answer to that. And the other one that I'm just real concerned about is the lack of work orders. I've been wanting to try to piece together the full budget for those bears, as beautiful as they are. And it seems that I've got some, but then for Public Works, all I got was an email saying, well, we did 4 hours this day and 4 hours that day. But it didn't include anything for the installation of the lights and things like that. And I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can get work orders on that stuff so it can just be better tracked, not only for transparency, but also for like budgeting reasons as well. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll address the work orders. So, I mean, that's something where we've done, I don't know, it seems a little bit hit and miss, at least as I'm investigating it. But we are going to get more consistent going forward. I had sent some emails out earlier on Monday to let the staff know that's my intent with work orders and purchase orders. So that way we do have that paper trail and there's more transparency. We are accountable to the public, and that is extremely important. So I can't speak much for past practices. I mean, that's a past, and at some point we have to just move forward. We can't go back and reconstitute something, you know, from a year ago. I think that'd just be difficult, or we wouldn't be able to get all the information. I don't know if anything really does exist. I'll defer that to Todd if there's anything more specific from the Bears. I don't know. Was there anything else, or what, Todd, was what provided all that's available?
Well, and the bear thing, no disrespect, but the question with the plants for the bears, that just happened in September. So that is fairly recent. That's why I was kind of questioning that as to, you know, again, I think supporting local businesses, you know, especially right now during the pandemic, is such an important thing. And again, just seems very odd that we would just go all the way up there to get them.
Todd, you were going to answer?
I'm not sure what got submitted to the public records request on the Bears. I'll have to look. Most of the time we keep some type of job order or work order, especially this like past year. We've been working on that. As far as the arborvitae that we ended up going to Snohomish County for, we're looking for 5 to 6 foot arborvitae everywhere that we have reached out to, which was the Bark Store and several other nurseries in Olympia. The cost for the arborvitae was anywhere between $120 to $179 per tree. We reached out to where the state recommended that they buy wholesale at, which was this nursery. And we ended up getting the trees, the same trees, for $40 a piece. And doing the math at that time when we did it, it saved, by us going up there and getting at the trees, it saved us almost $900 on that project. So that's where that came from.
Okay, is there a reason why the order wasn't placed then at that time and ready for pickup? If that was in fact the case, or?
Because we called up there, they said they were digging them out of the ground and they would have them the next morning. That's when we sent a crew up there to go get them, and apparently they weren't ready. So I'm not sure why they weren't ready, but that we were just doing what we were told they would be ready for. So.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Thank you both. Just the last call. Any other public comments before we move on?
Yeah, I got call on user 3 has his hand up. I requested them to unmute. And if they *6, they can unmute themselves.
Good evening, Council. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Bob Pringle. I'd like to bring up a couple of things. You know, over the year we had a lot of discussion about transparency. Yes. Can you?
Yes, we can hear you.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'll start over again. Well, anyway, over the last year or so, we've had a lot of transparency or discussion about transparency, but it doesn't seem like we're getting any closer to getting it. We still are kind of get the runaround for questions, and we still can't seem to be very transparent on the things. An example, at the November 10th council meeting, the city attorney made a comment about some ongoing litigation against the city. I believe he said this appears to be, from what I can understand, by the initial reading, an attorney's fees grab. Well, and I'd like to say that he said I would say this to a judge and I would also say it to a court. However, what was written in the minutes was there's no ongoing damages. Looks like attorney fees, but obviously the written minutes can't be word for word, that they should be at least reflect what was said. So it just seems like they're trying to correct a mishap and trying to play down what was really said. Is there a way to amend the minutes to more accurately show what was said? It's just kind of seems like it's always, well, we'll look into this and we'll look into that, but nothing ever gets, really checked into. And the city attorney sounded pretty confident when he said it. So shouldn't he just stand by those words? You know what I mean? But the transparency thing and what he said, there's got to be more to this than what's going on. It doesn't seem like we're getting the full information that we need. I'm just wondering if somebody can respond to that and give me an answer what we need, or so we know what's going on.
Was that it, Bob?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. I just like to know what's going on with the city attorney and what's going on with the suit, or what it is. It just seems like we're not getting the whole thing, in front of us, the whole picture. It just seems like little tidbits and what's really going on. So if you could kind of elaborate on it, I'd appreciate it.
I'll defer to the city attorney, but I'm willing to bet that being it's ongoing litigation, we wouldn't discuss about it with the legal manner until it's at least completed. So it's kind of hard to give transparency on that until we can get through that process. We do have an executive session to discuss that with the city attorney and the council to inform them on where we're currently at right now. So, hey, Chris, am I off base, or is that accurate?
Yeah, unless I'm not going to recommend that I discuss ongoing litigation in a public comment period, but yeah, that's dead on. Unless somebody wants, it's, again, I think it makes sense to discuss these things, ongoing litigation and strategies and things like that in executive session. What I did say was my opinion at the time, and I stand by that. So if the notes or the minutes don't reflect that, these minutes can reflect that.
So yeah. So with ongoing litigation, we're not going to discuss that until we can get public. And then depending on the outcome of that litigation, I don't know how this would work. I'm not an attorney, but if there's some gag order, for example, that barred us from saying anything, anything's possible. So it's kind of hard to bring that up. In terms of the minutes, I can sit down with them tomorrow and kind of figuring out how to fix that.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Well, if this is going to be taxpayers' money that's coming out of the pocket of taxpayers, wouldn't it be a concern of the taxpayers to know what kind of litigation is going on? Mr. Croker sits there on the phone and talks about stuff that he said before, but yet it's coming out of taxpayers' money. So shouldn't taxpayers have kind of an idea of what's going on? He can say one thing, but then he can say another, like he did at this meeting. Apparently, he's going the opposite way now. So I'd kind of like to know where in the hell we stand on this. I know you can't talk about some things, but if it's an ongoing litigation, is it just attorney's fees, or is there going to be a lawsuit against the city, which is going to cost the people of Missouri?
I don't have an answer for you tonight, and that's where I'm hoping to get more information from executive session.
Yeah, I think Mr. Coker should come forward with more information too, that he can maybe tell you, and you can maybe word it to us so we know what's going on. It just sounds like he's trying to hide something. So, but I'll just wait for more information to come forward then, and I wish he would be a little bit more transparent with what he's trying to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. It looks like we got Susanna. You got your hands raised.
I do. I had just a question on if we can get an update on the website. I've been looking at it and it's coming along, but I noticed even on the main page to redirect people to go check that out or anything would probably be helpful, and just keep looking at it, but we're not seeming to get that much closer to release, and just want to get an update.
Okay. I talked to Todd just a couple hours ago about that because I didn't know. I'll let him go in more detail, but it came down to training and trying to get everybody up to speed before we went live. We are close, but not there yet. I'll let him expand on that.
Yeah, it's basically that's what it is. We have 3 employees that are still waiting training. Once they finish that training, they will then move to we move to a final meeting with the company, and then it goes live. So it's just making sure everybody gets trained up before and know how to use the website before we go live.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't see any other hands raised.
I'm sorry, can I add one thing to that?
Yes, go ahead.
Is there any chance we can change from a .com to a .gov? It seems really weird to have a .com for a city.
The only reason we're .com is because it's free, and if we went to a .gov, it costs us more money.
Okay.
If you don't mind just zooming in a little bit on the agenda. Thanks.
All right, so we're down to consent agenda.
I have my hand up. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
See that.
My name is Buford, and from 108 North 10th Street. And Mr. Mayor and council members,
Yes.
first of all, I want to congratulate you all for those who won election, and thank you very, very much. I have some questions of concern brought to me by several members in town, and myself after speaking to several of the workers around town. So these are for you, Mr. Mayor Miller.
Okay.
Do you speak to the city attorney, Mr. Coker, before ordering a city public works supervisor to give Ms. Rittinger an all-access tour of the city light and power building?
I did not give her access.
So you did not order a city employee to take her on a personal tour of the light and power building this week?
No, Public Works supervisor or anybody else has informed me that that was happening, or that they were giving a tour of power and light.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. So you are aware that Mrs. Rittinger, who is also known as Donjula, or the dog food lady around McCleary, has an active lawsuit against the city currently. Yes, Mr. Mayor?
I am aware of the litigation that we're going to discuss later this evening, yes.
Thank you. Did you swear at a city supervisor from Public Works and tell him that he was lazy, Mr. Mayor, and lacked initiative in front of other staff members yesterday?
Did I say he was lazy?
True?
No.
And did you swear at him? Did you actually drop an F-bomb? No?
What's that?
Oh, okay, so have you read the code of conduct for city staff and workers? Is swearing at a staff member allowed? my final question, Mr. Miller, is
Yes.
I understand you froze all budgets and spending, and yet you didn't address these debts or the budget when you passed it on the city council. And
Correct.
because of your actions yesterday, I was made aware that a $7 tub spackle, it cost the city over $100 by wasting over an hour of employee time for a supervisor and a team member were held up for over an hour. So is this how you plan to save money in the future by spending money?
Well, the Public Works did not inform me that it cost that much. They asked if they could get the spackle, and they told me what it was for, and I told them that they can do that. That's the only discussion we had about spackle.
Okay, but they had to stop working for over an hour to get approval that had to be sent to Mr. Cooper. And Mr. Mayor, your lordship, if you will, do you have approval to promote Mr. Cooper, to delegate new duties to him, and not having his direct supervisor do that?
Can I move personnel around? Yes. Is he promoted? No. It's in his job description. I'm just centralizing so we can get a handle of our budget.
Okay. Well, thank you, and I have no more questions. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Anybody else have comments this evening?
Can I get my 3 minutes?
I would like to interject very quickly since I was brought into this conversation. This is Angela Rittinger, and I want to clear something up. I'd like to clear something up right away. I'm not sure where this gentleman is getting his information, but one thing that I can clarify for him is that the mayor did not grant me a tour of downtown of the Public Works Department. I was going down there to look at the generators. I walked in to the new clerk treasurer's office and asked her, and that can be verified. Danny, I'm sure you're on the line. Did I not walk into your office last week and ask if anybody was available to give me a tour? I had not contacted the mayor. I had not been in touch with the mayor about doing this at all. So I'm not quite sure where this information is coming from. There are lots of rumors going about social media in town, and I can assure you that I come with facts, and all these other things that people are coming with are based nothing on rumors, just like this rumor about the mayor giving me this tour. I'm not quite sure where that's coming from, but Danny, if you could please confirm for me that I came in and asked you so that we can at least do away with that rumor going about. Thank you.
This is Danny. I'm the city clerk. Angela came in and was going to have a tour of the generators. She wished to be toured by Jenna Jarvis or Joe Pittman, and they weren't not available. So I gave her to Steve Randich, Public Facilities Manager, to take a tour of the generators. She said she needed to see all of them.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Danny, for confirming that and doing away with some of these terrible rumors going around. And I'm not sure what's going on with this, but thank you for putting that one to rest.
All right, who's next?
Can I get my 3 minutes now?
Who's that?
Yeah.
Oh, hold
yes,
up. There was somebody before you, caller 3. Wait, there's somebody else speaking.
Can I go now?
Yes, who's this?
This is Jake.
Hi, this is
Hang on. Was it Jacob?
Yep.
Okay, you go ahead.
Thank you. I just have 3 quick points tonight. First off, I want to say thanks to Todd and all the crews from the city. Did a great job during the snow. And
hold on a second. Can you state your full name for the record, please?
yeah, Jacob Simmons.
Who?
Simmons, Simmons.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Yep. Just want to say thanks to the city crews. They did a great job during the snow. I know from firsthand experience it's not easy around here. Second of all, I want to say thanks to Chief for responding to a call before Christmas that I made as I saw a dad and a son chasing down somebody who stole a package off of their step, which brings me up to the third point. We have a public safety issue here still, and it is back at the end of my street. This is the 4th time in 13 and a half years this issue has been here at this house. Come to my street, you know what house I'm talking about. So that is an actual public safety issue that I'm tired of. I'm tired of finding needles in my yard. I'm tired of finding drugs and drug paraphernalia in my yard. I'm over it. I was over it 3 years ago. It got rid of. I'm over it again. So instead of worrying about fireworks or moratoriums, let's worry about an actual public safety issue with guys that are walking down my street and cars that are driving down my street making deals. That's a public safety issue. That's what needs to be addressed. It's either going to get addressed once again, like it should be by the city, or it can be addressed by others. I'm tired of it. Mayor, I can start bringing all the paraphernalia, the needles over to your place, and I'll dump them on your yard. But this needs to be addressed. This is an actual public safety issue. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Who's next? One more.
Hello?
I thought I heard 2 other voices.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. State your name, please.
Hi, this is Gary Atkins, and I just wanted to congratulate you on your win, and I wanted to congratulate the city council. Hopefully this administration will listen more to the public and work more with the public when people call in with concerns or complaints before they get blown out of proportion. Maybe people can touch bases with them personally or work together to get information back to their complaints or their concerns at the next meeting and keep the ball rolling instead of we heard your complaint and move on to the next meeting and totally dismiss everything and not get back to the people. The other thing I'd like to see is more, when you guys vote for things, I'd like to see it in writing. I would like a paper trail of each council member that either passes it or doesn't pass it, because in the past, when we ask questions of who approved this, we get, well, that person did or that person didn't. Nobody really says, well, we approved it. So it'd be nice to say, okay, this person approved it, so we have something to go back on to. And then my other thing is, with the budget cuts, what are we doing about the chief's medical compensation? Because that's something that the city could actually be saving money on, because most employers, including my own, pay you a small percentage, not the entire amount or a large portion. They give you a small percentage in a savings, and then they can do with what they want with the rest.
Sorry, I'm writing all that down. All right, thank you.
And also, I tried to give the police department several drug container needle bins, and I didn't really have any luck doing that. I gave one to Randy, but I have several if people are wanting them because they're getting needles in their yards. If somebody contacts me, I have several brand new ones that I can donate to the city, and if they want to pass them out.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Chris, this is Bryson.
Yes, please.
I noticed on the agenda, or at least my copy of the agenda before we move on, that there's no staff reports, and I just had a couple things that I wanted to bring up before we dive into the other items. So, one of the things, I get that you're the mayor, you have the authority for the daily functioning personnel at the city, but when we worked on the budget, and this is going into the budget freeze that the email came out earlier this week. When we worked on that, we had the 3 budget workshop meetings. There really wasn't a whole lot of concerns over the reckless spending and debt that is being alleged. I'm getting all sorts of questions from the community on that they're getting their information through Facebook. So I guess I'm confused why we're hitting the brakes on the budget. We all passed, including yourself as a council member, knowing that it was going to be your budget as mayor. And now everything is being routed to Josh Cooper for processing and then yourself for approval. And with that, in that question, as a follow-up to the public works sides on purchases and projects, and I just want to know, because the way I'm reading that email, that Todd's not longer a part of that process, which to me doesn't make sense why our public works director wouldn't have a say when he knows the projects that need to be going on in the city, as well as these department heads who worked on the budget, who put their expertise from working in the field into what these projects are going to cost. I just think between that and the council, without having any kind of conversation with council or any kind of heads up that we're going to go into a budget freeze, whether it's short term or long term, I just think that there needs to be more transparency on that. I know one of the items that was budgeted that's of concern is the 5th officer position for when Officer Morrison resigned. That, when I looked on the city website, is posted. So I'm curious if that's going to be one that gets pushed along so our police department has adequate staffing if people need a vacation or if they're out sick or training, or just basic safety for our officers and officers in the surrounding area that rely on them for backup and vice versa. And so that's just where I'm at. You know, I want to work with you. I want to see you be a successful mayor, but those are some current concerns right now that I have.
Okay, thank you. We've got another caller. Who's got their hand raised? The 8? I can't see who that is.
I believe it's number 3, and
Okay.
I think that was Bob.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I'd just like to say something about what the last city councilman there just had something to say. He was talking about transparency. There was never any transparency with the former mayor of the city. And as far as anything else goes, I have seen him vote on several things which he wouldn't even admit to in the past. So as far as this is going forward for transparency, boy, take your sunglasses off, dude. You're blind as a bat. So thank you very much. But I think as far as transparency goes, he better, like I said, take his sunglasses off and take a look around at what's going on around him. Thank you again.
All right, thank you.
And I'd like to piggyback on that. This is Angela Rittinger again, and say that's exactly right. We've been asking for answers for how long, and I think it's kind of shameful for this council member to step up now and question this stuff when we've been questioning things for 2 years and they sat idly by. So it's kind of suspect at this point that they're questioning this transparency now. So we all hope too that things are going to get better and we can all learn to work together and based on fact and what's best for this community. And let's do away with all this nonsense, this infighting and this division of our community, because this town has so much to offer, and all of these mistruths and all of this scheming behind the scenes is not doing this community any good. And for all these false accusations to come out and have the mayor be accused of something tonight of setting up some clandestine meeting for me to come get a tour of the city when it's just so easily disproven. And this is the problem going on right now, is nothing is based on fact, and we need to get away from that. We need to come together. We all need to work as a team, and we need to realize this community belongs to all of us. And we need to pull together and make this a good community.
Thank you. No further comment. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Trying to remember, Danny, this is one we also do a vote whether we approve the consent agenda. Is that right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. So do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda as is, or is there any changes?
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
And, okay, there's one. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you. So we'll move on to new business. So again, the letter from Mason County, which is appreciating the hard work that our Power and Light crew did helping out in their catastrophic need. They put in a lot of hard hours trying to help out up there. Very appreciative of what they did, as well as our own community, how much they worked. It was pretty impressive. And it's great when you can help your neighbors, especially if maybe in the future when we have to rely on them. So congratulations to Paul Knott and the rest of his crew for such a tremendous job that they did out there. So next, we have the Mayor Pro Tem appointment. So since I have become the mayor and I vacated the Pro Tem spot, it creates a vacancy for somebody else to jump in there. So I opened the door for anybody who would want to become the Pro Tem. I try to remember, it's self-nominated or correct, or somebody can nominate another person, and then when we get enough nominations of who would like to do it, then we'll vote after that.
Yeah, it can be either somebody can say they're interested or somebody can be nominated.
Okay, so either way, whether you want to nominate somebody else or if you're interested yourself, please feel free to jump in.
Well,
Hey, guys.
I nominate Bryson Huff.
I second it.
It's so hard to talk when there's can't see anyone.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Joe.
And I was just gonna say that I would love to put my hand in the ring as well. Just this being my third year, I think I've learned a lot the last 2 years, so I would be happy to take on that position as well, because I was looking to kind of get off of the finance committee and hopefully let one of the new members come on too, because I think it's a great learning position to be in, to be on the finance committee as well. So I am interested, but I'm open to anything.
Hey guys, Max Ross here. As a newly elected council member, I would like to remove myself from consideration of the pro tem appointment. So clear the floor there.
All right, so we just have two, so Bryson and Jenna.
And I think that they already have a motion for Bryson, so I think
Is there?
there's a motion
I
on the
didn't catch
table.
that. There's a lot of over talking. Okay, so there's a motion for Bryson.
I second the motion for Bryson.
I'll also make a motion for Jenna.
Okay, motion for Jenna. Well, if you have two motions, do you second the second one and then vote?
I'd like to hear from each of them.
That's
I
fair.
don't know if Bryson is interested or not. So, and I didn't know Jenna was, so I'd like to hear each of them, what they think.
Okay. All right. Well, Bryson was nominated first, so we'll start with him.
Yeah, I served as pro tem my first year on council. I believe I did that for about 2 years until you took over, Chris. So I'm happy to step back in it again and give us a chance, I think, to work more closer in uniform. So I'm eager to to take on that role.
All right, thank you. And Jenna?
Yeah, I think this is just another opportunity just to broaden my experience on the council. And I think just my experience with local government and my interest moving forward, it's something that I'm interested in the future. And so I would love to serve as pro tem and continue my service to the city.
All righty. So we have a motion of Bryson and a motion for Jenna. I'm just trying to figure out the procedural aspect. How do we?
I think it would just be a vote, Mayor. We have
Just
two
a vote
people
from there.
interested. I just think it'd be a vote.
Let's do. Can we do a roll call? It'd just probably be easier than trying to.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense.
All right, hey Danny, do a roll call vote for me, please.
Okay, and this is for Councilmember Huff. Okay. Right?
Or are we doing it just?
We could just say their names.
Say their names of who they're voting for.
Correct, and see if we get a majority.
Okay.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Well, there's only 3, yeah.
All right. Here we go. Councilmember Amsbury.
I think Bryson and I are out of it.
Yeah. Just
Okay. All right, that would make sense. All right, so Councilmember Ross.
So as someone that's relatively unfamiliar with both candidates, it's hard for me to decide, but based on what I've heard, I will support Council Member Amsbury.
Okay. Councilmember Dahl.
I support Bryson, Councilmember Huff, I'm sorry.
Okay. Councilmember Iverson.
I support Councilmember Huff. But I think Jenna would have done a great job too.
All right, thank you. Now we're on to council committee assignments. Photo sheet. Is there anybody who's wanting to stay on the current committee that they're on?
Hey, Chris, I'm on the Public Works Committee. I know Jaron was on there too, so there's a vacancy for that one. And then Joy and I were on the truck route one, and we both most likely agree that that one can go ahead and be dissolved since that committee or that issue has been taken care of.
Yeah, that one's done.
The transportation one? Yeah.
Yeah, that one's done.
So I know
So I would like to stay on the Public Works.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, I think I talked over somebody. I was just going to say I'd like to stay on the Public Works Committee.
This is Max. I feel I would also be well suited for the Public Works Committee.
In conjunction with that, Jaron also attended the Chehalis Valley water meetings, and so hopefully we can get somebody to continue that representation for the council.
True. Would either of you be available for that? I don't remember how often they meet. Wasn't it like once a quarter?
Do you know, Bryson, how often he went?
I believe it's once a month.
I'm not sure. Todd would probably be the best person to speak on that, on how often their meetings were.
It's one Friday a month. I can't remember what specific Friday it is, but it is one Friday a month.
We don't have to decide it tonight, but it is hanging out there without waiting for somebody.
Yeah, Joy, I agree that's important. I would have to make sure there's not a conflict with my day job in that regard, because my area covers the Chehalis Valley, so I need to make sure I can serve on or be a representative at those meetings, like outside of my official capacity. So I can look into that and follow up if permissible. I would consider attending those meetings depending on the days, times, and frequency.
Can I interject real quick too?
Sure.
So I would focus on the committees now because there's other items that will come down at future council meetings, like Grace Harbor Cog, the Chehalis Valley meeting, E911 stuff. So people want to be part of that. So we're going to line that out. We shouldn't be lining that out right now. We should just be focused on committees.
That's fine. We can deal with that later.
If there's somebody who wants to be on the finance committee, I've been on it for 4 years and I'm willing to step down. I think Jenna said she was as well. So I'm happy to stay on it, but if somebody else is interested and wants to learn more about the city finances, I've had 4 years on there and I would be willing to step back and let somebody else take that on. So pipe up if you're interested.
I would love the opportunity to work on the finance committee with either one of you guys. I know you both expressed interest about stepping down, so.
Well, I'm just doing it so the spot is available. So
Okay.
Yeah, it's up to you.
Okay.
Yeah, no, and I was the same way. I said, I'm happy being on the policy committee. I think, that's somewhere that I can bring my expertise to. So, yeah, I'm happy to step back from finance as well.
So I stay on and you're going to step off the finance committee?
That would be fine with me. Yes.
Okay. And then we're going to still do the policy committee. Okay.
Yeah, if you want to stay on that one, that's great. Cause I enjoy the policy committee.
Okay. So I'll stay on the policy committee and the finance committee. And Andrea, welcome to finance.
Thanks.
And then did we have like a communications or are we missing one of them? I feel like we have another one.
Well, we were supposed to have another one that was supposed to work with the community on reaching out, getting information out to the community, the monitors that we've talked about, so the people in the community know what's going on. But that didn't get going yet.
I would love to
I know.
with somebody. Oops, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Andrew. I know when Brenda was in, Chris and I worked. What was it, Chris? I think maybe a meeting or two, and then yeah, and then when everybody just got busy and we weren't able to meet up again. But
Bryson, is that something that you would like to start up again, like a communications, or I don't know what it was called previously, but I think it was the
communications or
public relations and communications committee.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
I would love to be a part of
Chris,
that.
are
If you
you
want to continue that?
Chris, are you willing to be a part of that as well? Because I know you had ideas when we had met a while back on that.
Yeah, I can say the last one we left off. I know Brenda there was some software that she was familiar with and she was digging into it, but then we never met again.
Right.
So I honestly don't know where I can reach out and just see where she was at. I don't know where it left off.
Okay.
And I know Carrie Comer was a part of that as well.
And then there were a couple of other people in the community that were interested in being on that committee.
All right, so Bryson and Andrea?
Yes, for me.
Yeah, I'll stay on that one as well.
All right, it's still showing, I don't have Jenna listed for ordinance, or did somebody else jump in there and I didn't catch it?
The policy committee?
Yeah, let's see, was it review ordinance and code committee is what it's called, but I mean, we can change the name as well.
Yes, I think we said Joy and I on that one.
Oh, so Joyce-Tina, okay.
Yeah, Jenna and I were doing that one.
Okay. Looks like we got everything covered. There's 4, because the other one's gone away. Oh, all right, thank you. So what are we up to? The BPA customer portal access and user agreement.
I can give a little history on that.
Yeah, please do.
We currently are using the BPA customer portal. They're updating their system and going to a different style, I guess. And so the old one's going to go away. We just need an agreement saying that we accepted the new system and we'll start using the new system. Is basically what it is.
Todd, this isn't for us as a city to call into this portal, is it? This is for,
Yes, this is us,
no,
100%.
I mean, I meant the residents of the city. Like if I have a problem with my power, I would not, personally, just Joy has a problem with her power. I wouldn't be accessing this portal, correct?
Nope, they won't let you.
Okay, okay, then I won't try. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood it. So this is like for the city to call them if there's a problem.
Yes.
Okay,
And it's not the city. So the city actually goes on to the customer portal. We use it for energy efficiency. We can look at our meter readings at the BPA substation. We can look at our bills. It just has all of our contracts on there. It's a customer. It's their own customer portal that we can have access to. So.
okay. So do you need a motion?
Yes, please.
I make a motion that we accept this upgraded agreement with BPA.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. So now we're up to the Evergreen Consulting Group Technical Assistance Proposal.
I'll speak on this one too. Sorry, I didn't do a staff report for these. I was gone when I submitted them. I just couldn't get a staff report in for them. This is a company that we've been using for several years now, Evergreen Consulting Group. They help with our conservation program, and it's going extremely well. It doesn't cost the city out of pocket because we get performance payments back from BPA along with the energy efficiency money that we distribute out to the customers. So it's just a nice thing to have to utilize on these energy efficiency programs that we're doing and submitting to BPA.
Is this where the money comes from, like when people get heat pumps and things like that?
So the money so when you do, for example, if you want to purchase a ductless heat pump, you fill out the application and staff will see, they'll fill out the application. We submit it to Evergreen Consulting Group and they will see if it qualifies for the rebate, let you know if it does. Then the customer goes through the mechanical process through the city and the rebate application through the city, and we make sure it's all installed correctly. We let Evergreen know that it's installed correctly. They submit the paperwork for the rebates. The rebate comes to the city distributes it to the customer, and then we also get a performance payment from BPA, which we pay basically Evergreen for doing that. So.
Okay. You need another motion?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion that we approve this.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. Thank you. Now we're up to the municipal service agreement between Connections and City of McCleary Police Department.
Is Chief on the line?
He is unable to attend the meeting tonight.
I can speak to this unless you want to, Todd.
Bryson would be a lot better person than I would.
Oh, okay, go for it, Bryson.
Yeah, I went to a presentation that this group does about a year or so ago. So what the connection groups is, they work with children that are victims of crimes. They're a resource for the police department to use. So with signing the agreement to partner with them, it gives us access to forensic psychiatrists or for kids that they're trained to work with the kids and get information for investigative purposes. I know other departments around the county use them, and we've used them historically in the past. I know when Helen Lake was alive, she was one that was a strong supporter of the city partnering with this group.
This one we need a motion for as well.
You need a motion. This is an ongoing relationship that the local police departments have had for quite a while.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the municipal service agreement between Connections and McCleary PD.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, the next three are just introduced. So the fireworks ordinance was something that I told Brenda and Chris Coker that I was going to work on from months ago. And there were just so many different types of ordinances and variations that it just took a while to try to figure out how to put that together. And I don't know if it's necessarily the way it should be. That's why I'm presenting this to you all to kind of consider or decide how you want to take out, put in, do anything with it. I just trying to complete that task of what I said I would do from before. I think there's benefits to having at least an emergency aspect. Because if there's any kind of fire danger, we can place that restriction. If we form this and we do pass it, it won't be effective this summer, just so we're clear. Like, it would take a whole nother year. It's got to sit. And so anything we work on, I mean, we have several months to play with this. This is not something we have to have, done today. So I just finally got all this together, and I'm just introducing it to you so you can look it over. I don't know if you have any questions tonight, or if you just want to mull it over, and we can discuss it at a different time.
And Mayor Miller, this is Chris Coker. Just
Yes.
so you and the council know, there is a House bill that's pending that is proposing changing that 1 year waiting period to 90 days. So I don't know where it is in the system, but there is a House bill it's House Bill 1638.
So I have a question for our attorney. The emergency ban on fireworks, that too would have to wait a year. So if we have another bad summer like we did last summer, we couldn't put an emergency ban on.
Well, I'm not looking at what the state requirements are. If there's an emergency from the state, if our ordinance is more restrictive than the state, it needs to wait a year. But I can double check that. I'm not 100% sure on that. But my, the general rule is if our ordinance is more restrictive than the state, we need to wait for a year.
So if they do change it to a 3-month, I hope we would know it before 3 months at least before the 4th of July is coming.
Joy, I have no idea.
I know.
Is it in this legislative session?
Yep.
Okay. And it's a short one this year, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
On it there was a hearing date on January 11th. I don't know what did or did not happen at that, but I don't think it changes just understand. And again, I don't think it necessarily changes what we necessarily want to do through this ban. Just letting you know that we might be able to get into if the rule changes, if the statute changes, we might be able to get it in this year, but uncertainty at this point.
So I will say this fireworks ordinance isn't, in general, is not necessarily a ban. There's some language in here that that basically says in emergency circumstances we could put a ban on fireworks. I really only see the circumstance in which we would do that would be like the really hot, dry conditions, like the couple 105-degree heat waves we've had the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
But when we've had weather like that, the county has instituted a burn ban, which fireworks are under that umbrella of anyways. So I'm not. So regardless of a 90-day or 1 year waiting period, if we did need to institute an emergency ban on fireworks, 4th of July because we'd have these conditions in the summertime, obviously. I think a burn ban would have us covered.
When I looked into it, they said it didn't. I don't know for sure, but my understanding is it didn't, and that's why Brenda and I were discussing this last summer, was trying to figure out how can we still be covered just in case, so where we have the option.
Bryson, I want to just jump in and add there. I know Elma, I think some other counties or cities around the county, and then counties up north had that emergency implementation for firework bans, even though there was the county burn ban or state burn ban in effect due to the heat wave.
Correct. There's many cities throughout the
But
state.
do we know if they already had an ordinance in place to support that? Because one of the other cities in our county wanted to do a burn ban, and the city came back, the people in the city came back and got that reversed, because this is the first that I never even thought about the burn ban covering it, but evidently it didn't work for that one city down on the harbor, and they had to reverse it and let the people shoot off fireworks.
They reversed it because they didn't have the proper time of waiting for the ordinance. That was
Right.
them.
Yeah, any city that banned them had an ordinance in place to authorize it.
Well, that's
And
what I'm saying. I'm
agree
not
with
sure a
Mayor Miller.
countywide bird ban will stop fireworks legally.
I don't believe it does.
Okay. Well,
It's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, okay. So regardless of the waiting period, though, whether it's 90 days or a year, depending on the current state legislative session, if we feel this is necessary from like a public safety standpoint, I would say that we pass it. That waiting period's out of our control. Worst case scenario, it's 1 year, so it wouldn't be covered for this upcoming summer, but future summers it would be, which in the long term would solve the problem. Aside from the hot, dry conditions that would justify like an emergency ban, the language is very reasonable. It's like the week of 4th of July, you can shoot fireworks off. The night of, you can shoot them off to like midnight. It's not really restrictive. I really don't think that would upset people. It still allows people to shoot off fireworks for the 4th and for New Year's. It's really the emergency ban, which I feel we should pass. And worst case scenario, it's summer of 2023 is when we can instill it.
Right.
And we knew that going in, and you're absolutely right. I agree too, that we do need to pass this, because last summer was scary. We didn't know about this possible House bill coming through when we made this decision. So either way, I agree. And as for the restrictions, those restrictions line up with what the restrictions are in the county. So it isn't like something's going to be going off in the county or in McCleary at different times. These are the same restrictions that are out in the county for days and times.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so the language as is, I have had time to read this word for word pretty thoroughly, and I'd be willing to pass it as is. Personally, if others haven't had time to review it and wanted to wait until next meeting, that's fine too, but that's my stance.
Yeah. Hey, folks, this is Chris Coker. This is only on for discussion today. I would not recommend passing this today. I think this is its first presentation. And
Just an outline.
yeah. So I think there's lots of opportunity. I think public comment would be not tonight, but maybe at a, because this will have some effects on people. And I just think so this is my understanding. This is not to be passed tonight. This is for discussion only. You guys can review it and go from there.
Right.
Okay. Understandable. Well, my stance remains the same. I think as is very reasonable.
Okay. Well, Moldova, have you got any other, it's like, so with the restriction on times, I married it up with what the state had, except for like it allowed discharge on the 5th, and I took that away. I just, because I noticed a lot of people that had issues, veterans and pet owners and stuff like that, that had issues with the number of days and times and all that stuff. So I don't know where we should go, and maybe that should be more of in a public hearing to get more input on that. before we decide. Because the other challenge is if we're more restricted than the county, and the county's like right there, so you could have somebody on Larson Road, launching stuff, and on Summit they can't, and then it gets a little confusing. So, just things to consider.
And you do have the 5th on here, Chris. You have 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on the 5th.
For sale, it should say for sale, but not for discharge. And the reason why I left that, I figured if the trailer, the group that I think is a church that sells in town, like if they had leftovers and they chose to sell on the 5th, maybe people want to stock up for New Year's or whatever. I mean, that's just leaving them an option.
That makes sense.
You're right. I'm sorry, I misread that. You're right.
Yeah, no problem. I know it's. I was trying to keep it in line of how the state had theirs, but it took me a few readings to make sure I understood it correctly. So
you did a good job.
Thanks.
I suppose timing wise, there's not a huge rush on this either, because if it ends up being a 90-day waiting period, that gives us basically April to pass it, to put it in effect for this 4th of July. And if it's going to be a 1-year waiting period, we just have to get it done before summer, really.
Yes.
So.
Any other discussions on this one?
Thank you for doing this. That was pretty scary last year.
Okay. Next one is about the Planning Commission. So I made modifications similar to what Lacey had. There's a few other cities. I just remember Lacey on top of my head. Because there's people that live just outside of city limits, but they're utility customers, and they want to be part of this Planning Commission when it gets reconstituted. So I found the flexibility to add that in. The way I look at it, as long as and this is what I sent the ordinance committee, Joy and Jenna, for them to review. I think as long as it's within a 2-mile radius, and then they're utilities customers, so that way, they're directly connected to the city and its support and its development. I think those should be 2 key factors in order for them to be part of the. But I also wrote it similar to what Lacey had, where 3 of the positions had to be within the city limits. Now that's up to you all if you want to give a little more flexibility or how you want to go about that. This is just my starting point.
Okay.
So this says that. Go ahead.
Bryson, I was just going to say, I think we're on the right track here. I know we had a planning commission several years ago and then it kind of dissolved. I like, Chris, how you have that more flexible, because I know there's people that are right on the city-county line on the county side that wish that they could be more involved in the city and have a little more of a voice on what goes on. So I like the direction that you're going with that.
Yeah, I mean, just because they're not in the city limits does not mean they're not part of McCleary. And we got to try to find ways to include them more often.
So what I was going to say then, when we form the commission, you're going to appoint people to positions on this commission, and then one will be for 1 year and the next one will be for 2 years, so that we have them staggered, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then that will come to the city council for approval, who you have appointed.
Correct. So once we pass this, then we'll solicit for applications. Same thing like the Civil Service Commission. It'd be the same process.
Well, I am so happy to see this. I have been concerned about this since before I was on the council. So this is time. Too much is going on right now that we need a planning commission.
Yes.
Will there be some sort of bridge between like the commission and the city council?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
I wasn't sure how to put that in because each entity does it differently. Some of them have a city council member that sits in with, not like a voting member, but they sit in with the commission and actively participate. I think one had the mayor do it. Some of them had a staff member. I couldn't see that there's one way to do it, and I didn't include that because there wasn't a right way. So it's more of a, what do you all feel like you want? I'm good with any of it, truthfully.
Okay. I mean, the two ideas I have would be to have a council member act as like a liaison, basically attend their meetings, or have the planning commission have a representative from the planning commission like once a quarter, or more often if necessary, speak at the city council meetings as like an update.
Mhm.
I don't think that has to be spelled out in this language. I think it definitely needs to be done, but if we hem ourselves in too much, such as say, somebody from the city council needs to be on there, where it could be, somebody in the city. But yes, we definitely need a bridge, and we need to have reports on the city council, and have their input before we make any decisions on things that are affected.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose that language doesn't have to be spelled out exactly. I just wanted to ensure that the two bodies are, there's a little bit of overlap.
Yeah.
I thought he had something in here about, didn't you have something in here, Chris, about reporting to the council?
Oh, Lord, I never remember.
Probably that meter.
It could have been.
That meter's still in there. Okay.
It's funny is that's our actual code. I mean, so we do have to change that.
I know.
I think looks maybe the very last page.
Yeah, I think
that's what you're referring to.
it is in here someplace about them reporting to the council. I don't think it says specifically quarterly, but I know I read it in here somewhere about them reporting to the council.
Okay.
So like what's gone on in the past with the planning commission, they only meet when the council gives them something to meet on. It's not like a quarterly thing where you just go and talk, and the council has to assign something to the planning commission, they meet on it, and then they do their thing on it, come back with the recommendation to the city council about whatever you guys gave them.
Okay, so when something comes up, such as our plan that's, what's the name of that plan that's up for renewal this year, Todd?
Like a comprehensive plan.
Yeah, the comprehensive plan. So that would be something we would assign to the council, and then they would come and report back to us, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And that I'm just going to, by the way, has it been handled in the past is you have to assign them something, because otherwise, what are they doing?
Right. They need to have some direction on what.
Right. We don't want to waste their time.
About. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay. I got a list of things right now. No.
Any other discussion on this one?
None for me.
Okay. And then the last one is the salary commission. I know this has come up a few times in the past. Joe and I have talked about it, and so I just looked in to see how we put something together, because in my opinion, the elected officials should never vote for their own salaries, and the salary commission can determine if you get a raise or nothing at all. Like, it's taken that out, and a separate entity, a separate body makes those decisions. So.
Amen. What did you take this from, Chris? What other cities are doing it like this?
Actually took this. Which city was it? I don't recall off the top of my head. This one came from a very specific city. I think it pretty much probably identical. It's somewhere up north, like Snohomish or somewhere up there. I can't remember. It was one of those in that area.
Okay.
I know this is what the state does, is they have a commission that decides on it, and that kind of makes it easier because then it's across the board what everyone's getting. And that's actually what the county has gone to for their elected officials, is they go based off of a percentage of the what the salary commission does. And it does give it a little bit more of that, citizen basis, that they are looking at what the elected officials should be making, and it's the voice of the people kind of having a say in their elected officials. So it's not, you know, another government employee or something like that. So it kind of, you know, brings it back to the people, which I think is good.
Well, I'm all for it.
Will the will this be structured as to like the salary commission will like make a recommendation and the mayor approves it?
No, council approves it, I believe.
Okay.
Nope, it does not. It says the council does not approve this.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, let's see.
Should
So council approves the selections, and then once the board or the commission is in place, based on this language here, the commission would set the salary for the mayor and the council.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yes, the
Okay.
people we would
Okay.
approve, but the change in salary, we would not.
Right.
Sure, but so okay, say the salary commission gets together and I'm gonna like, you know, for hypothetical sake kind of like outline like a scenario that probably would never happen, but say they decide to give like all city employees like a 30% raise across the board. Does the city council
No, it's not
have
for this.
No, they
It's
don't.
just-
The city.
This is
employees.
specific for the council and the mayor. This is not
Yeah.
for the city.
oh, this is just for
Only
the council,
elected officials.
not city employees?
No,
Right.
that's
Okay.
that's negotiations with unions and such.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just for
Alright.
us and the mayor, essentially.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, it says the commission shall have the duty to review the salaries paid by the city to the mayor and city council.
Okay.
And then down here, it doesn't say, currently, if the council is given a raise, they can't accept it until after they've been reelected or until after the elections, but this one does not say that. So,
It proceeds that way. It makes it effective immediately.
Yeah, if the commission recommends it, then it's immediate. It's only after the next election if you're voting for your own.
if you're what?
If you vote for your own raise, that's when you have to wait till the next election. If a
Okay,
commission
so-
decides, then it's immediate on the next budget.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I looked for that and I got the impression that it was different. So thanks for the clarification.
All right, any other discussions on this one?
It says, say if their salary decreases, that will not be effective until the commencement of the next term of office. So if there's a decrease, that waits.
Correct.
And the increases, it's regardless of their terms of office.
Correct.
Well, I'd say go for it. Can we vote on this one tonight, Chris?
No, it's not in proper format.
Okay.
I mean, we'll do some work. Like I said, I just want to introduce these, let you think about it. We can bring it up at the next meeting.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion before we move on?
No.
Okay. All right, so this one, there's a ton of community members that were concerned about any kind of development that's on any of the properties on the aquifer. So working with city attorney, trying to figure out if there was anything we can do. We came up with a solution. It's basically creating a temporary hold. And so what this would be is for 6 months. We'd have to do a public hearing in 60 days. And then what I'm hoping that this does, it's not preventing any development whatsoever. It's just putting everything on hold in a moratorium until we have a chance to get our planning commission together and the environmental studies, the aquifer studies and stuff that we budgeted for this year. We can get those studies done and have a better picture of what we want to do going forward to see if those things need to be rezoned or restricted or anything like that. I'm not putting it on us to make a decision. I don't want to, try to figure out permit bans. Like there's just too much to think about. What I'm just trying to do is put a temporary hold until we can get our planning commission in place and help them let them figure this out for us and give a recommendation of what they think after all these studies and everything is completed.
So, Mayor, I had a question about that right off the
Yes.
bat. This is in reference to the annexation property that we're trying to obtain, correct?
Annexation property?
With I mean, we're
Summit
talking
2?
about aquifer. What? Yeah, what's that?
You talking about what's past Summit 2? The annexation
Yeah.
would even, no, it's not part of that. That's
Okay.
not even in the city limits.
Oh, right. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure we weren't talking about that because that was
Nope.
my exact concern was that we.
No, this has nothing to do with that.
Okay. Okay.
I have before we get into what all the moratorium entails, I have a couple questions along those lines, Andrea. So there's the attached like zoning map, and there's a couple areas that are like outlined in. There's an area that's outlined in red, which I assume is just the city limits. There's another area that's outlined in like a bold navy. So I guess what I'm getting at is this proposed moratorium, is it for all of city limits, or
No,
is it for
the red line is the city limits.
Okay.
The dark blue, because it was the best we could do. It was difficult to try to figure out how to make it work. Is the properties that could be affected. So the moratorium that would affect these properties, that doesn't mean the planning commission would like down the road say, okay, we're changing all of these. But because they're all in the aquifer and there's no development. So for example, there's no houses and there's no the door plan, right? Like you can't affect those. There's already development that's already done. What we're looking at is the open space, the undeveloped properties. And then we're just saying in the meantime, there's a moratorium. And then as the planning commission figures this out, they'll come back and they'll say, okay, hey, the study's already done. We don't need to do all this, only these 3 parcels or whatever they come up with. And then they present that to you and then you figure out how you want to go about that, whether you do rezoning or restrictions or however that plays out.
Okay, so this moratorium only applies to the area that is outlined in like the dark navy.
Yes.
Okay.
So nothing residential
No.
would be good.
I know it's hard to do. I mean, it was really difficult to put together, but it's around the residential properties.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That's important for clarification's sake, because the language in the in this like moratorium as proposed, it basically says like everything in the city like over the aquifer, or it says in the aquifer, but it should say over the aquifer, which most of city limits is over the aquifer according to that
Correct.
like 1990s map produced that you sent out earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so if it could clarify like this attachment here, if there needs to be like a legend on it that indicates that navy area is the area like in reference, because that in of itself pretty much makes it so all my other questions and concerns are.
Okay. I have a list of the actual specific parcel numbers.
Okay.
But we focused on the map, trying to get that done so you can visually see what it was that didn't get included. But I can forward that to you so you can see what the actual parcel numbers are.
Sure. I mean, my biggest concern was that I just don't think anything residential should be included in there because, I think homes have little impact to the aquifer, especially areas that are like already zoned as residential. I could see including further like subdivision and platting applications for residential areas, but for stuff that's already been subdivided and zoned as residential, I don't think we should be preventing anyone from beginning construction. But it doesn't look like that's the case anyways. But that was my biggest concern reading this earlier today.
And it is hard to see those dark blue lines, Chris. Right now I'm looking on it at obviously on the computer I can see them, but on my tablet, the dark blue lines don't even show up. So maybe shading that area with diagonal lines or something would make it more apparent.
Yeah.
So that people could look at it. You can keep all the different zones on there, but if you put like diagonal lines or something through those areas, I think that would show better this is the area that we're talking about.
Yeah, that's not a problem. We can fix that.
And I would agree that I definitely think that the industrial zone is the one that I'm the most concerned with, just because industrial has a very wide array of functions and activities that can happen on it. And a lot of those are right by our wells, by those areas. And just from the past, I know that that's something that we've had issues with other places, is that you don't realize, oh, wow, that's an industrial property. I didn't know that that could go up right behind my house. It could be like a factory or something like that, and so seeing that a huge chunk of this is industrial, I really think that we do need to take a second look at that zoning, because it's different from back when maybe this was done to what there is now, and what different factors go into what an industrial plant can do to our environment. And so I think that that's definitely something that we should be looking at.
And that was the whole purpose behind this, right? Was exactly. I mean, the concern is development of high impact.
Yes.
So.
And my concern all along has been trying to make decisions without a planning commission in place. I really feel that we should have somebody looking into the future and looking into these things much more thoroughly.
Correct. And that's the idea here. It's not you all having to try to decide, well, should it be this zone or should we allow this or that? It's just saying, okay, we just need time for this planning commission to get constituted. Like if we're able to finalize the language and we'll just say we vote next time, we still got to post, we got to get people to apply, we got to appoint them. Like there's a whole process to just get them in. That might take until March, and then we can start going. We still got to do the aquifer study, because my assumption would be the planning commission would want to see that. So there's a lot of factors involved. We just need to give ourselves or give them the time to be able to look at this fully.
And can you educate me a little bit? I guess I'm just not familiar with the process. If somebody were to purchase property there, or they own property and it's within city limits in these areas that we're concerned about, what is their process right now for developing that? I realize that it's zoned a certain way, but are there studies that they are required to do prior to building? Am I asking the right question? I'm not really sure, but
you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we essentially going to be doing the same studies that a private citizen or a developer would be doing if they would want to apply to build something on these properties?
No, I mean, Todd can correct me. We're not doing like SEPA studies and stuff like that. We're doing the aquifer study that we budgeted for, that we're already planning on doing this year.
Okay.
Because that's a concern from everybody in the community, repeatedly brought up, is
right.
trying to address that. And because these properties are directly on the aquifer, it's not that any development would actually cause harm, but it's trying to show people what it can or cannot do, or what the issues are, potential issues, all that stuff, so we can make an educated decision of what we're going to do with them.
Okay.
And Todd has a lot of answers to that as well. When people want to put in a subdivision, they have to go to the city, and there's a big process that goes on. And it sounds like Max has some information too, and I interrupted him. I apologize.
Oh, you're okay. I mean, I'm fairly familiar in this area. Yeah, you can't just like buy something and start building on it. It's a pretty long process in order to get the permitting in place. So I'm glad you asked that though, Andrew, because I don't want to be paying for like an environmental tax statement, endangered species review, rare plant survey. I don't want the city to be paying for all that, because if someone does buy it, they should be responsible for all that. In addition to that, I think with the drug task force property, right, there was a few years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a proposal to build like a jail facility or something like that. Yes. And they did like a feasibility study, and that feasibility study failed right. Because of the areas like 60% protected critical areas. But that feasibility study should be public record, since it was paid for by the county. So this is just a thought, but once we establish the planning commission, it could acquire that study for them to have a starting point.
And they Todd sent us that DTF study. I don't know, did you get to see that, Max?
Are you talking about the same feasibility study?
The one that Todd just sent us just a few days ago.
We had Skillies do an environmental assessment of the property to find out what's on there. There's a lot of wet land on there.
I think Max and I are still waiting to get city emails, and so some of the stuff has been coming to us separately. But I know that process is in place.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, there's a great big long study. I see Jenna smiling. Did you try to read the whole thing? I did good in the reading part, but once we got into the charts.
I tried and I got it was too much.
But it talked about all the different types of soils. It talked about the plants. It talked about the animals, the fish. It was a pretty comprehensive study, and it scored each of the areas. It's probably right up your alley, Max. It's probably the kind of thing you look at and go, yes.
Yeah, I'm smiling a little bit here. Todd, what can you specify? So I haven't seen it, but can you specify a little bit as to what it was? Like, was it an EIS?
No, it wasn't an EIS. It was just they mapped out wetlands, delineated the wetlands, and just basically just an assessment of that whole property.
Okay,
we didn't want to purchase it, and then all of a sudden have it known that, well, most of it's wet, and then we would have a big wet piece of property.
Okay, so it was like a resource inventory study, sounds like. Okay, well, yeah, I would like to see that at some point. I lost my train of thought. So I took about an hour earlier today and I read through this in quite a bit of detail. Do we want some discussion and like feedback as to some of the language, things that maybe should be included in here now, or should that just be done through like email outside of this meeting? Because I did make a few notes.
No, we can discuss that now.
Okay. Well, okay, so page 2 of 5, the third whereas statement, where the city continues to be engaged in environmental review of protected areas. So in this area, I think we should specify, what types of environmental reviews we're going to be doing. And I think we should also specify that some of the reviews should be assigned to the planning commission. That, I mean, maybe earlier in the text we should clarify that the 6-month timeline is in part so that the planning commission could be established. Because it sounds like we're using this like emergency, this emergency authorization, and I feel like we just need to justify that, and justify the timeline. So I made a few notes as to that, and then later on, I made a few notes regarding like exemptions. There's I think it's the last paragraph, section 9.
What page are you on?
That was page 4 or 5. There was, oh no, I'm sorry. My notes say we need a section specifying the exemptions, because section 9 on page 4 or 5, it basically says it's not going to like stop all development. I think we need to clarify what is exempt, what isn't, because I just think it's necessary to be specific as to like what we're allowing, what we're putting a moratorium on. Not just necessarily the area, but like types of development. Most of my notes had to do with like residential related things, which don't seem to be of concern. I'm kind of scanning through to try to pick out the stuff that isn't related to residential.
Hey, Chris, do you need a moment to think of that and get back to us, or is that something you can answer tonight on his two questions?
Well,
you know what I do, Max, is with questions like this, I send an email so they can sit and study it and put the information together and get it back. You can email Chris, the mayor, directly. His email is on the internet. Or you can email, and
He's got it. He
share
already
with the-
sent me some stuff earlier.
yeah.
Okay, that'd be great because my notes are a mess. Like I said, most of that I do is residential stuff. So I'll condense all my notes into an email and save us all some time.
Yeah, because I sent them a bunch of emails the last couple of days about this this ordinance. So
Okay.
All right, so you want to table this until the next meeting so you can get further questions answered, or?
I would personally.
Okay.
I agree. I think
Andrea, I just sent it to you
Oh, thank you.
on your personal email.
Okay, thanks.
And Max, I would have sent it to you, but I don't know your personal email, and I don't want you to assign it to the whole town. So
Yep. I'll Andrea has it. She can forward it to me.
Yeah, I'll send it
that's
through.
what I told her to do in the email.
Perfect.
Yeah, does the so I'll email all my comments to I guess both the mayor and the attorney are named Chris, huh?
Yes.
Does the rest of council want to be included on that as well? Like, should we all be? I don't know.
Hold on, folks. So we
can't do that.
Doing emails. Hold on, Joy. We can't be sending emails outside of a public hearing because that's a meeting. So if somebody wants to send me an email directly, that's fine, or the mayor an email directly, but we cannot be having email communications amongst all the council members. That is a meeting for purposes of the Open Public Meetings Act.
Yep.
Okay, well that's good to know. Okay, then Chris, I will just email you directly.
All right, thank you. All right, looks like next is the curb grant.
This is for the grant. Yeah. Okay.
This was passed back in September, October. We never got
This was a number.
So we're just letting you know that we need a number on this.
Okay, I
need
make a motion
another.
to approve the resolution with a new resolution number.
I believe so. Is that right, Chris?
Correct.
So what's the number? Is it 744?
This is on the agenda.
Yeah, it says 744 on the agenda. So
Yeah,
who made that motion?
She said 744.
Okay. Well, I'll second it.
All right. Was there was a motion? All right. So all those in favor?
Aye.
all right.
All right.
Opposed? All right, so passed. All right. Does any of you have any updates you want to share?
I just, Chris, I just wanted to let council know I grabbed it. I can put it back down if they'd like to read the letter in its entirety. But the president of the food bank submitted a letter just talking about their 2021 year and thanking the administration, the different city departments, and the city council for all the support they received. So it's a pretty nice letter. I'll put it back down in our council boxes. anybody would like to stop in and take a read at it.
All right,
Cool,
thank
thanks,
you.
Bryson.
Anyone else? All right, we'll move to public comment. Is anybody else, anybody out there would like to give public comment?
Mayor Miller?
Yes,
Who was the first one?
Bob Dahl, Civil Service Commission.
Yes, go ahead.
Probably should have jumped in under new business and I didn't, but
That's fine.
perhaps we can have just a quick discussion, a little clarification, as I've reached out to the other two members on the commission. And the clarification being, as Paul Morrison left on 12/9, on 12/16, I reached out to Danny and requested a timeline on a notification of posting. And she replied after the 1st of January that we were, that you at this time were going to not replace position number 6. Is that indeed correct?
No, it's not that we're not filling it. I just held it temporarily because we're trying to figure out where we're at. I'm just trying to get everything organized and settled and see where. So I had a conversation with Chief Bloomer last week. He had the same concern. I told him we're not going to fill it, and I know he was concerned that it takes time to go through that whole process, the background checks, all that kind of stuff. So I was aware, and him and I are probably gonna have another conversation just so I have better clarity of how long that actually takes.
Okay, gotcha. So it's more, probably a short-term hold then, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
Referencing back to, we also had some discussion referencing back to a post you had made on your mayor Facebook account back in August 22nd. You alluded to email thread that you'd had with Chief, and that you had asked him in February of 21 what resources that he was needing.
Mm-hmm.
And he had mentioned a resource officer full-time for the school. You had indicated that is something that you looked forward to make happen in your potential tenure. Is that still on your radar?
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
How we get there, I don't know yet, but
Okay.
it is something I would like to see.
Yeah, awesome. Alrighty then. I will relay that back to the other members on the commission, and I thank you for your feedback.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, who is the next one? That I heard somebody else.
Yes, Mayor. Angela Rittinger once again.
Yes.
I just wanted to make a statement. I was a little bit surprised at Councilmember Huff's what kind of came off as an attack on you about the budget. I think I kind of understand a little bit of what he's saying, but I kind of look at it as first of all, from a citizen's perspective, I appreciate you taking the budget seriously. I know you're facing a lot of debt that you're trying to get the city out of, so I appreciate you taking that seriously. I think maybe Bryson might want to consider that, perhaps under the mayor's, now that you're mayor, perhaps there's just a different set of eyes on it, and perhaps that's what your reasoning is behind it. Again, I can't get into your head, but I think rather than go on the attack, I think perhaps it would have been a little bit more professional to question your reasons for doing that rather than just go on the attack. Again, I believe maybe perhaps as a mayor, it's just a different set of eyes. But again, just from a citizen's perspective, I think people really appreciate you taking that seriously. I think people understand that the budget's a pretty touchy thing right now, and understand that you're just doing what's best for the community. So just want to say that we appreciate that.
Thank you. Let's see, Susanna, looks like you got your hand up.
Hi. One of the thanks for taking my
It's Shelley Raby that keeps raising her hand physically too, Chris. I don't know if you can see her.
I cannot. I'll get to her after Suzanne.
Thanks for taking my comment. I was just gonna follow up. Somebody had mentioned earlier, and I forgot it was on my list to mention this one about the snow and how they thought the city did a great job. I don't know how challenging it is, but I didn't feel that the city did a great job because a lot of the side streets weren't done at all that I could see. And I know last year we got a lot of the side streets. That's where the scraping came from, that moved the grass. So, I mean, you could see that it had been done. This year I couldn't tell that the side streets were done at all, if they were. And I was just hoping that that was something that we could get done in the future, and maybe getting the easements along Main Street so it would be easier for people to park. I saw piles of snow built up there, which would make it hard for people to park off the main road. So I don't know how challenging it is. I don't drive a snowplow or a city vehicle outrigged with a snowplow, but I do know that we did more side streets plowing last year when there was snow. So I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and Jen, I didn't catch the name. Who's the one you were talking about?
It's Shelley Raby.
Oh, Shelley. Okay. Oh, hey.
Hi. I didn't know how to put the little hand raising icon, so I apologize if I was doing it out of turn. First of all, thank you so much for having me on as a comment or a question. And I wanted to congratulate our new mayor, Chris. I'm super happy for him and our new city council members. Very excited for more transparency. Chris and I have had many conversations about that, and that's probably the most important thing to me is I just always want to feel like when I'm asking a question, I'm being told the truth. I think it's very important. I just think transparency is key. Communication is key. I was wondering, and another thing I wanted to bring up is I know that sometimes change is very uncomfortable, but it's also necessary to kind of keep everybody on their toes so people aren't comfortable. And I know people don't like to hear that when they've been doing the same thing for a long time, but sometimes it's good to rock the boat a little and keep everybody on their toes. That's just my opinion. I have a question about the Planning Commission. I don't know where to get the information on that. Would I go to the McCleary website? I think Todd Bond, I think was his name, was he showing that? Would I find that PDF on the website so I could learn more about it? And I'll ask my questions and then you can answer them if you would. On the Planning Commission, is that where we would find the duties and obligations? And then I know that, what was your name? Max, I think City Council Ross, is that what I would say? Member? I think you mentioned something about their duty or obligation would be like, if something came up, then they would take care of it and go over the planning. But is that once a month? Is that every other day? I mean, somebody would kind of need to know what was expected of them, kind of how often. And also, how many members are you wanting for the Planning Commission? And I think that's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The Planning Commission would have 5 members. So 3, the way we wrote it now, 3 would be in city limits, and then 2 would be outside city limits. As long as they were within 2-mile radius and their utilities customer. The information that was on here tonight, if you go to the city website, their agenda, it's be a 2022. It's on the agenda itself. This is extra because there's more to the ordinance. I was just grabbing the parts that we were looking at changing. So there are some more parts to it, but those weren't being affected, and I didn't want to include the whole thing because we weren't actually doing the entire ordinance. We were just trying to focus on what changes we're going to do. I feel like I missed one of your questions.
How often would you need somebody to be available if they were on the Planning Commission?
So like Todd pointed out, the only time they would start meeting is if the council had something for them to work on. From that, I don't know. I think that's something we have to settle internally, whether it's monthly. I'm trying to remember. Todd, do you remember back when they did exist, how often they met?
It varied. I mean, sometimes it was every other week. Sometimes it depended on what the subject was, but sometimes it was monthly. Sometimes it was every other week. I mean, you can go as often as you want if you want to knock something out. That's simple. I mean, you can meet in a week, but some of the stuff is going to be, I mean, it's going to go over several months of the planning commission.
Would you be meeting in person, on Zoom, or how does that work?
It all depends on what our restrictions are on from the governor.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then what are the qualifications for that? Does it say that? I could go back and read that if it's on the McCleary website.
The only qualification I know is that you have to be a city resident, and with this new one, you would have to be a city resident or within 2 miles and a city customer for city utilities.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, and congratulations to everybody.
Thank you. All right. Looks like caller user 3 has their hand up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. This is for Mr. Huff. He had directly to him. He had a few things to say about the mayor tonight, and I was just wondering if he had discussed any of these things with you prior to these meetings about what he said tonight. My question is if he did have prior discussions with you, why did he bring this up tonight? Is it just for showboating or grandstanding or whatever the reason was for this? I mean, this is the kind of thing that gets these things going in this town. That if there could have been other ways of doing this the way he did instead of grandstanding, and that's what it seems like to me. So I would like a comment on him if he had discussed this with you prior to this meeting, and then all of a sudden standing up and out these questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Bryson. No, I had not talked to Mayor Miller through email or in person. With this being the city council meeting and city council business, it's appropriate to ask these questions or voice concerns about city issues during our council meeting. That's my stance on it. If you disagree, then we're going to have to agree to disagree.
Are you still there?
Is it appropriate to meet with council members before
Hold
the
up
meeting?
a second. User 8, I don't know who you are. The other person I think is still finishing. Whoever caller 3 is. Let them finish.
Bryson, I'd like to know, you said we agreed to disagree, but the point is, it just sounds like you're grandstanding. It's just causing more conflict within the people of the city. So it seems like you can say this, but I was wondering if you would say this if everybody was standing in a room or in the room tonight instead of on the phone, or is it just like I said, are you grandstanding, or is this just something you're trying to come off on? Sounds like you're running for mayor for the next 4 years after this. But could you please, would you have said this if somebody was looking straight into your eyes? What I want to know.
So these are legit concerns that I had. Like I said, we didn't know as council, we weren't privy that there was going to be a budget freeze. When we all worked together on creating this budget, and there's not really any concerns about this debt that we're in, and there's no concerns brought forward to us by the finance committee about this debt that we're in, it catches you off guard and it makes you go, okay, what's going on? Why weren't we at least given a heads up? That's all. And if it was in person, I would have said it in person in the meeting. It's a legitimate question.
Did you not have plenty of time to talk to the mayor about this prior to this?
Yeah, I'm not going to argue about it anymore.
Yeah, we don't need to
go. Just going in circles.
Yeah, we don't need to go back and forth. Let's move on.
So.
Thank you.
I think it's important to note that Bryson was meeting downtown with other council members. Who knows what they were discussing, but it's interesting that the attack came tonight, a day after their meeting downtown. So again, I agree with Bob that we need to quit playing these games, start being transparent and working together instead of trying to start this meeting off with this attack on our new mayor. Let's all work together. Let's stop with the nonsense, stop with the rumors, and let's work together. This town has potential, and all this distraction, especially when it's coming from council members, is really disturbing. So I'm hoping that we can learn from this tonight, we can move forward, and we can all start working together.
So let me address this. With this budget issue, it's not, as I explained to them, my background is process improvement in Six Sigma. It's about trying to figure out how to get this debt down. Yes, the debt was a concern to me. I'm not a part of the finance committee, and it wasn't in the previous year, so I wasn't a part of any of those meetings. But what I want to see is we get the debt down, because we couldn't even afford to buy the DTF property that would have been ideal for the park system that everybody keeps asking for. They want dog parks, they want walking trails, they want all these different things, and we couldn't afford it. And then when I started looking at how bad the debt was, and with all the leased vehicles and all these other things, like if the treatment plant goes down, there's concern that we couldn't even fix that. People are asking for these trails, they're asking for sidewalks, they're asking for the roads to be fixed, and we can't do any of it. So yes, the budget is a concern for me. Yes, at this moment, I am freezing it to a degree. If they're letting me know what it is and it's a viable project, then we can move forward, and we're going to sit down and we're going to plan some of this stuff and try to figure out a way to make it work. But the biggest complaint we always have, and I've been for the year and a half I was on council, was that everything that we do only benefits the city employees, and the residents feel like they get nothing. They don't recognize that, and that's not fair. Honestly, we need to benefit both. It's not trying to take away from one to benefit the other, or vice versa. It's trying to find a middle ground, a compromise to a degree, to benefit all of us at the same time. And hard decisions have to be made. Yes, there's going to be disruption. Yes, people are so used to doing things one way, and they're afraid of change for whatever that reason is. I understand that. It's difficult, and it's very hard to deal with. But at some point, we have to do it, and we have to find a way of moving forward and improving. We cannot continue doing things the way they always have been done, because all that does is cause us more problems. And that's what I'm going to say about that. Is there anybody else who'd like to make public comments? All right, then we will move to the executive session. Chris, how long do you think we need for this?
Probably 10 minutes, and won't be any action taken afterwards.
You say no action?
No action.
Okay. All right. So council, you should have your link. So we'll move over. As of now, we'll move over in the 10 minutes.
Okay, I think it's recording now.
Okay. So we're back in. We're back in order. Chris, did you want to try to figure out an alternative to?
Yeah. I can do that. I can get a hold of you tomorrow to figure out what's the best way to do it, Chris.
Okay.
Okay.
So I guess council stand by on that. We'll figure out what we're going to do. So with that, unless you got anything else, Chris, we will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Might just be Joy and I on.
Right. There's only two of you. Can we even do that?
I can see Andrea. She's here.
Oh, that's a different Andrea, I think.
Oh, okay.
Maybe Bob, you need to tell Andrea to switch back to the other meeting.
We need a third person.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna be here all night. and I don't ever sleep, so I'm good.
I'll text Jaron and tell him to, or not Jaron, Bryson, to tell him to come back on to the regular meeting. How's that?
Yeah. You can tell Jaron too.
No, I don't think Jaron cares. Okay, Bryson. Okay, I just told him come back into our regular meeting so we can adjourn.
And I told that to Andrea as well.
Okay.
Everybody's forgetting about Max.
I don't have Max's info.
Nobody knows how to get hold of him. We don't have his phone number or anything. I think I think Andrea does. Jenna, why don't you tell Andrea to let Max know?
Oh, there's Andrea.
You know, only been working from home for 2 years and can't figure this crap out, but hey, we're
No, it
good.
isn't you. None of us could get in. It wasn't just you. Can you let Max know to come back into this meeting?
Yeah.
You know his contact?
Well,
None of us know how to get hold of him.
if we want to adjourn, we just need a third, because that would be
We just need a third.
majority.
So we had a motion.
Okay, so we can vote.
Yep, we can vote. So all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Can't
All
oppose.
right. You can oppose if you want to stay longer.
You can oppose if you want to.
All right,
Okay.
so we're so adjourned at 8:42. Just if somebody can let Max know that we're gone, so he's not sitting on the other line trying to wait to get in.
Tell Max it's not his
Have a
fault.
good evening.
Work.
Have a good night, everybody.